Are you using an Attio workflow with a formula block just to calculate sales commission every time a deal closes, burning workspace credits, and adding another thing that can break? There's now an easier way to do this. Attio released formula attributes, which are now available on Pro and Enterprise plans. You can build a formula on your own, or you can tell Attio's AI composer what you're trying to achieve, and it will build the formula for you. And unlike workflows, formula attributes do not require workspace credits. In this video, I'll show you how to use formula attributes and hopefully give you some ideas on how you can use them yourself. So let's get started. So like any other attribute, you can create the formula attribute from this view or from the object settings view. And you can also create this formula attribute on any object. So if I go to create new attribute, I can see formula is now available. I can give this a name, and then I can select create formula. If you already have a formula in mind and it's quite straightforward and you're comfortable, you can go ahead and just create it yourself. Or like I mentioned earlier, you can also describe the formula that you want Attio to create, and then it will create a formula for you. You can also select the output that you want. So if you know the output should be a currency type, then go ahead and select currency, for example. Also, if you are super comfortable creating formulas, you can see as you're creating it, it will show you the options that are available. And if it's not working as expected, for example, you can see that it will prompt you to fix it. So it can actually help you fix it as well. But I think as you're getting started, it's probably helpful to just describe the formula that you want to create so that you can see what the output looks like. And that can help you, moving forward for future formulas. So now let's walk through some strong use cases for this formula attribute. So the first one I want to take you through is very simple. It's counting linked records. So this would tell you how many records are linked to the current record through a relationship attribute so that you can filter and sort. Maybe, for example, you want to see how many deals are associated with each person and then create a view for people that have more than one deal associated, for example. So what you can do is, obviously, let's give this a name, number of associated deals, create formula, and then I'm going to do count, and then I'm going to do associated deals here. So that looks correct to me. Output number, save. Okay, create attribute. And now it's calculating. Okay, and you can see it's correct because this one, for example, does have a deal and it calculated 1 and then the rest are 0 because this is obviously a demo account, so it doesn't have much data in it. The next example I want to walk you through is a weighted pipeline value attribute. So a weighted pipeline adjusts each deal's value by its likelihood of closing. So essentially here you'd write a formula that multiplies the deal value by a close probability based on the deal's current stage, and then it divides by 100. So as an example, I'm actually going to describe the formula that I want Attio to create. So create a weighted pipeline value attribute where it multiplies the deal value by a close probability based on the deal's current stage, and then divides by 100. Use these stages and probabilities. So new deal, 10, discovery call completed, 25, proposal sent, 35, and then 100. output would be currency. Okay, let's see. And now it's thinking. Okay, so this is what it came up with, and this looks accurate to me. So deal value multiplied by the following. If deal stage equals new deal 10, if deal stage equals discovery call completed 25, so on and so forth. Okay, so save and create attribute. Okay, and so let's see here. Deal value. Yep, this looks correct to me. You can see this is super easy to tell. Yeah, and then new deal, you can see that it's 10% deal probability, and so that's how I came up with this number. Yep, this all looks good to me. Okay, so the next one I want to walk you through, and I think this will apply to a lot of sales teams, is a commission calculator. So this would tell you how much commission you need to pay your salespeople on every one deal. Of course, the formula will look slightly different depending on your commission structure. This formula that I'm going to ask Attio to write assumes a different percentage depending on deal source. So if it's an inbound deal source, then it's less commission. And if it's an outbound, then it's more commission. You can also do this for, biz dev and sales development representatives. So if you have people on your team who are maybe sourcing deals but not necessarily closing deals, and they still do make a commission, you can also create something like this for them as well. So I'm going to go ahead and create formula. I'm just going to describe the formula that I want Attio to create, especially just for the sake of time here. Calculate commission on every one deal. If the deal source is inbound inquiry, then the commission would be 15% of the total deal value. If the deal source is outbound email or outbound call, then the commission would be 25% of the total deal value. The output should be the value that I need to pay in commission to the deal owner, for example. Obviously, I'm using if the deal source is outbound email or outbound call. I already have an attribute created for that so that it can pull from those values. So there needs to be a little bit of legwork for something like this. You do need to have some attributes already built out so that it can feed into this formula. And then the output will be currency. So let's see what it comes up with. Okay, so this was the output. So now let's save this. Okay, create attribute. And then let me pull up source as well. Okay, so we were seeing a lot of zeros there, but that's because these deals were not won. Now, something to note, obviously, is this looks to be working. But for example, this one didn't have a source, so it wasn't able to calculate the commission. So, there's going to be some edge cases like this. Obviously, just make sure that either you're being really specific in what you're describing to the Attio AI Composer, or just make sure to have all the values filled in before. Another thing I want to show you is, let's say this was a mistake. The source wasn't an outbound email, it was an inbound inquiry. you can see now that actually recalculated automatically. So this is live, up to date. There's nothing that you need to do to get it to recalculate. Of course, besides like actually changing the values that it's feeding. But you can see I just changed that. Let's change it again. And it recalculates automatically. So it's really nice because it acts like a workflow without you actually having to create a full-on workflow. Okay, the final use case I want to go through today is calculating MRR. So this would tell you how much you're generating in MRR, if that's an important metric for you, versus just knowing the deal value. And maybe, for example, your deal value has a one-time fee, so it's not just reoccurring revenue, and you want a breakdown deducting any one-time fees and calculating the monthly revenue. For this example, I'm going to keep it simple and just assume that the one-time fee is the same across the board. Obviously, if that's not the case for you, you're going to have to, be really specific in your formula. Maybe the one-time fee differs depending on the type of product that it is or the type of deal that it is. So those are all things that you need to make sure to be specific about in your formula, especially if you're telling Attio to build it. Okay, so let's give this, a name, MRR, create formula. And this one, I'll just say, subtract 1,000 from the deal value and then divide the result by 12 to calculate monthly reoccurring revenue, and then output as currency. Just like the other example, I could be specific here and say, if the deal is 1, but maybe I want to also forecast MRR, for example. So I'm just going to leave it as is. Maybe actually I could say exclude any deals that are in the lost stage. And let's see what it comes up with. Okay, so quite simple. You can start to see the format of these formulas. If there's any exclusions or absolute inclusions, it always starts with if. So it's nice to see what it outputs, because eventually you can also just create your own formulas if you want to. Although this is working really well, so unless it's a very simple formula, I don't see the need to, try to create it on your own. So let's save, create attribute, and then let's see. So, and then deal value. Okay. Yep. This looks great. So it deducts 1,000, assuming those are my one-time fees, and then it calculates the MRR based on the total deal value. And you can see all these lost deals have a empty value in MRR, which is exactly what we want. There are plenty of other use cases too, like lead and deal scoring, days spent in each stage, churn risk, discount calculations, and so on. But hopefully this gave you a few ideas you can go implement in your own workspace today. And if you'd rather not spend the time setting up your workspace and working on things like formula attributes, that's what I do. So feel free to schedule an intro call with me. My links are in the description. Thanks for watching.